Please welcome our host for the day, Ms. Crystal Andrus.
Thank you, thank you. It is so amazing to be here. Wonderful, isn't this?
Amazing, the power within for women. For women. Woo! You can do that. We got to create energy today, ladies. You know, I find this absolutely extraordinary for me to think, and for all of us to think back that in less than 100 years, really think back 100 years ago, where were we women? Where were our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers? We were literally on the brink of the women's movement. Really, we were trying to convince men, and maybe even ourselves, that we were more than just a domestic commodity, a birthing machine, and a piece of property. We literally couldn't own property or vote 100 years ago. So look where we've come. Really, breathe this in. We should applaud. Breathe this in. We've come a long, long, long way. And you know what today is all about? Today is about us coming together as sisters, as beautiful mirror reflections of our beautiful souls. Really, think about that. We're coming together as sisters. We no longer have to compete to get the best man to give us the best life. No, we don't. Sorry, man. We are here. We have arrived. It is time to accept and revere what makes us so uniquely women, to celebrate our magnificence, to honor ourselves and each other. We've come a long way. So today we gather to set a new standard for our lives, for our families, for our careers. You gotta talk to the investors group. For our careers, for our health, for our bodies, for our love, for our children. And we are going to be joined by some of the world's most influential women. The world's most influential women here today. There I was, suddenly with the same determination that I did everything in my life. I was supermom. Supermom, I actually baked the bread from scratch. I made the homemade baby food. My children were not going to eat from a bottle. I did it all, and I did it all, and I did it all, and I was on the right path. I was on the right path, and everybody in my life said, wow, you have a great house, and you have a great husband, and you have great children, and you must be so happy. And I'd look into the mirror, and all I could see was my weight and my body, and I knew, and you know how many things I avoided in my life? How many parties, and I did not want those people that saw me like that. 2 years later, here I am sitting here for 2 years. 3 years have passed, and I'm sitting at 180 pounds. And suddenly, all those women that I was training at one point said, wait till you have kids. I was saying, oh my God, I've had kids. And how do I go face them now? So I'll just stay in my house. And it happened to me. Everybody has that moment, whether it happens through inspiration or desperation or whatever it was. I literally had that moment, sitting in my rocking chair, and to this day it touches me because it was that powerful, that I looked down at my little baby in my arms, and I was nursing her, and I began to sob, just sobbing, crying. And I realized, what were the messages I was teaching my daughters? What was I teaching them about being a woman? What was I teaching them about life? And I had my little 2-year-old girl sleeping in the other bedroom, and I realized, what was I doing? I was robbing my children of the most dynamic woman they'd ever know. Me.
Welcome back. Crystal Andrus is with us this morning. How are you?
I am so great.
We're so glad. You are so great.
I am
this time
so
of the morning,
yes,
this is the most chipper person. Crystal, of course, is the author of Simply Woman. It's a 12-week total transformation program, and you're here for the health show.
I am.
Here in Vancouver this weekend.
At the Convention Center.
There's the cover of the book. You talk about being pregnant in the mid-90s and starting a journey.
Weight. Well, you know, if I can go back just before it, I actually was a fitness competitor.
Right.
In my late teens, my mother was a competitive level bodybuilder, national level, and I fell right into that route. And I really thought that if you had 6% body fat and abs of steel, and you know, I'm exaggerating.
That was happiness?
But yeah, you would look in the mirror and say, wow, I love what I see, so I must be happy.
Right.
And that, I wasn't getting it. So I thought marriage and babies and the little white picket fence, that would do it for me.
Right.
And along with that, I thought, you know what, that whole body beautiful thing is just so, It's just a big facade. And I ate like I'd never eaten before, and I made meals that I cooked, and I made bread from scratch, and the weight started to go on. But I kept saying, but I'm happy, and I'm having children, and that did give me happiness. Right. The babies were, you know, wonderful. But when you're sitting at 200 pounds on the couch, then you start saying, I'm just as oppressed at 200 as I was at 120, and it had to be something more. I started to realize there was so much more going on inside me, and what were those dreams for my life, and what were the things I wanted to do?
So it wasn't just about losing the weight.
It couldn't be, and that's when I realized this wasn't about chocolate, and this wasn't about, but the moving the body started to empower me, and I started to realize, man, if I can get out and walk at 5 in the morning, and for those people that are up right now, you can go out right now. You can do anything. Empowering. It was that, it was a metaphor for life. It's you on your own 2 feet. And that became the catalyst, and I started to write in a journal. That journal turned into a 12-week program. It's absolutely true. I call it climbing ladders. You climb like ladders in your life. I speak with Dr. Christiane Northrup, who's got some amazing books out, and she will always talk about the crabs in the bucket, and the crab that tries to get to the top of the bucket. The other crabs come up and pull the crab back down into the bucket. It's kind of a funny thing if you watch crabs in a bucket. So we have those people in our lives. But one of the most amazing things that I've come to realize is if you were to think about a pitch black room, solid black, and you walk into the center of the room and to turn on a tiny flashlight, the darkness can never smother the light, but the light will always brighten the darkness. When you become that light, that energy, bright and brilliant, really no one can take your power from you.
Interesting.
Only you can give it away. Only you choose to turn the dimmer switch down.
That's great.
So it stops making it about other people. It's not about them, the people in your life. It's about your own personal power to be able to stay bright and strong.
You were hosting the Power Within.
With Dr. Phil.
With Dr. Phil.
About a month ago. It was a great show, great turnout. I think there was about 8,000 people.
The Power Within series is amazing, isn't it?
They are. Oh, I've done 4 of them now, and they're extraordinary.
And you're wearing many hats, aren't you, in the fitness industry, doing different nutritional stuff, your books. Tell me about it.
You know, it's funny because I first started off really fitness. I mean, years and years ago. It's funny when you talk about the fitness because 20 years ago, was it 20? No, I couldn't be that old. 15 years ago, I was doing, I was in Muscle Mag and Oxygen and the different magazines, and it just, I think it's like a lot of things. It just slowly kind of
becomes part of you.
Yeah, and it's taken fitness and then into the inspiration and motivation, and then, the supplements and the vitamins, and then motivation, and then I've got a radio show now. So I think it just naturally, organically kind of unfolds when you're on the right path.
Everybody's born with this 100-watt bulb that can literally illuminate an entire room. But we make choices through our life to either build off that power to turn that switch right up, or we make choices to dim it. And that's really what it is. It's really learning how to turn your light right up so that everything you do, you almost become a magnet.
So you have to find what you love, and you have to find a movement that you love. And if you're hating what you're doing, your body knows it right down to the cellular level.
Or it's just gotten used to it.
It does. You have to change it. You have to create new movement. Do you think all these messages, you can be anything, you can do anything, do you think this is going to sink in? My daughters are like 10 and 11 now, and I'm like, my fingers are crossed that it's going to click, by the time they're in their 20s, they're going to say,
rebel against it maybe for a while.
For a little while, that's natural, but I think they'll click and say, I can be anything, I can do anything, and I have the power to be happy if I choose it. And so today, I ask you just to sit back, take a deep breath. Right now, take a deep breath. And breathe it in, because we are creating history. We are creating history. We are on the era of a new movement for women, where we no longer have to compete, where we literally realize our strength depends upon each other. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. What we put into our bodies, how we move our bodies, how we react to stressful situations, we are in control. We cannot change the ocean waves or the way the wind blows, but we can change the way we set the sails.